He's got a lot of business wisdom to share, so give it up for Mr. James Calderback. I gave the briefest of interviews, but probably didn't give you anywhere near enough credit. Tell us about Transform Hub. Give us the elevator pitch. What does your company do?
So we help people that have got an ambition to open a group training studio do it the best and the most profitable without making a load of stupid mistakes.
And I'm not trying to suggest that some of the people in this room need to go to one of your locations, but for those that don't know, what is group training?
Yeah, so we basically do group personal training. We run it's basically guaranteed body transformation programs. So someone will come in, sign up for like a 6-week challenge. We'll guarantee them a stone loss in 6 weeks or the money back. Prominently working with mum and dads, sort of 35 plus, all the way up to like 65, 70 in some cases. So that's side of our market in the suburbs. But that's like the sort of lever to help them long term, because we know how people think is in the short term. We know that if we get them in the building, then we can get them onto a 12-month of change program.
And when did the business start? When was
2018.
And where was that in the country?
Preston, Preston, if you don't know it already.
Right. Okay. So opened in Preston. And what was it? Was it out of your own desire, your own passion for the industry? What was the impetus?
Yeah. So I was a personal trainer for like 7 years before that. I did really well. I had sort of like 30, 35 clients, 2 or 3 days a week, charging like 40, 50 pounds an hour, and getting amazing results. Was really well known in the area.
I was going to say, for personal trainers, that's high income. That's a lot of clients. Yeah. By most personal trainers would go, wow, that's...
And they were all on contracts and like direct debits every month as well. So kind of like, I always tied it to an end goal rather than just say, hey, this is your workout. Like always focused on the destination for them. So that's kind of like how it went so well really at the start. And then I just got sick of being there at 5 a.m, staying there till 11, having nothing to do till 5, and then staying there till 9 o'clock pretty much 5 or 6 days a week. I realised that I had a good amount of income coming in from the 20s, but I had no life. So I kind of was at a point where I was like, right, I'm either going to throw in the towel because I'm sick of doing this, or something's got to change. So I basically just moved all my clients into groups of like 5, I think it was at the time, and then started going a load of holidays, got my life back, started paying coaches, and then literally didn't know what churn was at the time or anything. Lost most of my clients, or half of them. So my groups of 5 that I was charging sort of 25 an hour for, opposed to £50 one-to-one, so I was making like 125 an hour. I was down to like 2 per group. So I had to think quick. So basically I did a fat loss seminar for the whole gym, which was Total Fitness. It's got like 5,000 members there. And then got everyone sold up onto a 6-week challenge for £99 each. So I got more clients in one night than I did in the whole of my 7 years, which was crazy. I was like literally walking the gym floor for years, like trying to get clients. And then used that and kind of just by accident, kind of just converted them into the small groups and filled them up again.
Interesting. Now, I do want to dig a little bit deeper. The slightly almost throwaway comment, got more clients in one night than you had in the previous 7 years. Why is that though? What was... Because there's lessons there sometimes we're used to going, well, this is the way that you get new clients in your business, Ben. This is the way that you get new jobs. And then because of necessity, being the mother of invention, obviously you did something different and you got a mad rush of clients. What do you think were the...
I just put a good offer in front of more people quickly, what they wanted to buy. So that was like, rather than having maybe one conversation a day, I think I had like 60 people turn up to this. So I presented the same offer pretty much to 60 people at once. And I did like an hour course online the night before. I can't remember what it was on now. It was like 20 quid on how to sell in groups. So I winged it and it worked. It wasn't as structured as it sounds. It was like kind of like an accident, really.
And at what point? Yeah, there's a few laughs of recognition there on the winging it comment, classic entrepreneurial nature. What was the next step? I.e., when did you transition to your own locations? At the moment, you're operating in this timeline. You're operating out of another. Of a gym that's got 5,000 members, and you're basically selectively taking the cream off the top, i.e. the people that are willing to pay more money for the personal training. What caused you to say, I'm going to open my own location?
Well, so what happened was 6 weeks after that, I was like, I'm going to do it again. And then had 4 people turn up to my seminar next time. So I was like, fuck. And it was like, okay, this is not going to work as well as I thought. Facebook ads had just started coming around at the time. I think it was like first year. When did they start? 16?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Something like that. Anyway, it was like the early days when you could literally put anything you want on any ad to go through. It was like early days. And so I was on Facebook, literally just put the flyer up online, and then there was a little button that said boost post. So I was like, I'll try that, £5 a day. I had spent all money on cars at the time, and I was contemplating spending £5 a day on an ad, so it's crazy. Anyway, did it, and then a week later I had 30 clients at 99 quid. So I was like, shit, okay. So I started researching more advertising, how to do that through, it was just Facebook at the time, but then it was Instagram stuff. Yeah, started to master that side of it, digital marketing, and I went, oh, I can do this on my own now. So and then, I went and set up my first studio with 10 grand, kettlebells and some good.
Okay, so when was this?
2018, Mark.
2018, so you opened your first location, and I was about to ask you what the capex was, so when you said 10 grand, so the 10 grand,
12 grand.
Yeah, so that was basically the kit, and you took a lease, I presume, from the.
Yeah, got a lease. Had green AstroTurf in it, like garden AstroTurf, not even like sport AstroTurf. So it worn down after like 2 months. It was like an old like office, so it had still all like internet wires everywhere. It didn't look like a gym at all, but it made it work.
Okay, and what did you get traction quickly? Was it slow and painful? Because again, at the end of the story, they already heard in the intro. We're now at mid-20s in terms of locations that are open and trading, and well, we'll get to the financials in a bit, but let's just say it's good. There's some big money coming off this load, and a load more that are under contract to open. What were those early days like? Did it carry over, or was it?
Yeah. So we opened with 100 people, which was awesome, on the 6-week challenge. So I thought, that's it. Mastered sales now. I can run a business. And then
He said humbly.
Yeah. At the time. So I was like, I am the man. And then 2 months later, I was like, I'm not the man, because everyone's complaining, wanting refund. I was like, oh, another lesson learned. So basically, I didn't have any like proper customer service support in place. We didn't even have an email because I'd been used to doing personal training and just everything was done in person. No one could get in contact. It was like Facebook messages. I was getting message requests. I hired some really shit trainers, and then after 6 months, it was still growing well. It wasn't as bad as it sounded. And then I came back after a holiday for 2 weeks, and my coach had set up next door and taken 70% of the clients with him. So I almost killed someone, but I didn't. So I'd loads of like, oh yeah, it was all signed. But, oh yeah, well, spent every penny, so I couldn't afford to take him. I just I thought, right, do I put more time into arguing with him or getting more clients back and making it better again? So it made me start to relook at everything, and I just relinquished control of my business too quick. And the first year, maybe like 200k, 250k, but it was still, it might not sound a lot, but it was really high margin at the time. And then we opened the second site in January. That got a bit better. Thought it was going to be easy because I thought I'd mastered the first one. And then I literally found myself, I just doubled my time and halved my profit by opening the second site. So that was another lesson. And anyway, then I opened the third one just before lockdown, and then they were all like...
Just to interject, you open your second one, and you double your time and half your profit, i.e. you spread yourself too thin, and then it wasn't really working, and then your conclusion from that was, I'm going to open a third one?
Yeah, well, to be fair, the other two were, like, the first one's making really good money at the time, and then the second one started to, like, do pretty good.
Right, so just took longer than you thought to kind of start getting traction?
Yeah, it was just getting the right people in. I think it was the main thing was with the people side of it, not knowing how to manage them. I didn't know how to manage myself, let alone someone else. Yeah, cash in, cash out, bag packet accounting. Yeah, works very not well.
So here we are. So you
it was just a mess.
You've now got 3 open. COVID happens. Then what?
COVID happens, and then I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna lose everything. So we pivoted online quick, and we moved all the classes online. So a lot of people stayed with us through that, and it was all about the community building. So everyone stayed together because what we had done really well is build an amazing community of people, and that's still what to this day makes an incredible experience for all the clients. And that community saved us. So we knew it was about that at the start, but we really realised how important that was through lockdown. So we managed to pretty much break even every month. Then we got like the furlough, bounce back loans and stuff like that. And then it was very stressful, but we then, when we started to do any sort of maybe half a year to a year before, we started to get a feeling we might be coming out of lockdown. Well, I took a gamble and then bought 4 other sites off other people that were going under for like next to nothing. So we opened them as soon as the lockdown finished. And yeah, the first one we opened at about 10k, we did 80k profit in the first month.
So I remember this because I think this was about the time that we started talking, and I remember looking at this deal going, oh my God, that's outrageous. And unsurprisingly, that they not all these cheap assets are rip-roaring successes, but could you just dive a bit deeper into that piece? Because I think there's lessons here for people in this room. The market right now, as I observe it in the UK generally, is tough. It's tough. Insolvencies companies that are going into administration have significantly increased. And I don't see that abating anytime soon. So what that means for you guys in this room is, in relative terms, you're very well equipped, and got a lot of resource at your fingertips. You can buy assets for pennies in the pound. As a reminder, Jim Radcliffe, love him or hate him, owner of Manchester United Football Club, in his book, The Alchemist, he spoke about his rise to success was basically finding unloved, unwanted assets and buying them for about 30 to 40 pence in the pound. So could you give us an example of either that location or one of those distressed deals that you did? So you mentioned that they were going under, so you bought them for next to nothing, and yet you just referenced one that then very quickly made an awful lot of profit.
I don't know if anyone knows like the group training studio industry in this room, but most of them have got a really good value-based owner that they've got a great team, they've got great coaches that really give a shit about the people, and because of that, they've usually got a really strong culture and following from the client.
So like a loyal client base because they feel taken care of.
But the owners are not usually good at business. I look back and go, I wasn't at the time either, really. But they usually they don't quite get it in terms of the business side of it. So they lack that business knowledge to make it really something special. So we just looked at the data and go, actually, these guys got 150 members, but they're not quite charging enough. Because what happens a lot of the time, like a lot of these gyms make money at the start, and then they've got registered, have to take on more staff, and then after the second year, they go broke or breaking even, making no money. So they tend to make a lot of money in the first year when the overheads are low. So that's kind of what happened with those guys. And we just looked and went, so we know that on average we'll close a 6-week challenger, maybe 10 to 20% of the leads that come in. So you could argue that like 10 in 100 leads will close. We just went, they're getting 50 leads a month, spending like £20 a day or something like that. So we just like 4x the ad spend and got more leads and closed them. Then and then to liquidate a load of money back, we just gave all the members a 20% off discount for the year and grabbed a load of cash up front.
So, by the way, you get it, and if you think about the 3 speakers, as in James, and the 2 from yesterday, the 2 Robs, what have they got in common? All of them are really dialed in on the numbers and the metrics. If you'd gone to Rob Stone yesterday, okay, what was your cost per customer? What is it today? What was it 12 months ago? What was it 5 years ago? He would probably be able to tell you with a frightening level of accuracy. And sometimes I'm asking him the questions and I've got historic data in front of me and they can remember that. And so, I say this tongue in cheek, but it's like, so here's James's brilliant marketing strategy. It's like, right, is it fair to say that the business owners that he's buying from don't really know what they're doing? They make money in the first year because they've got no costs, but after they hit the VAT registration threshold, and we forget, because everybody in this room is VAT registered. So we forget, it's kind of like if you are B2C and you hit the VAT threshold, all of a sudden, and you're making 20% margin, all your profit's gone instantly. So you have to grow. And at a certain point, you're actually making less money for it to make sense. Yep. But of course, if you're a bit hand to mouth, you've been living off the business's profits, Ben, then there's like a reluctance to do that. So James's ingenious marketing plan is like, well, hold on, this business kind of works. You just need to significantly up the ad spend so we can get over that hump. We can get to the point where it makes sense because the room that we're renting is the same cost. So that gets spread across the membership base. So basically, because you're more well-funded than the person that currently own the business, you're able to go, well, actually, we're happy taking the risk and we see that it makes sense. We'll spend more money, and all of a sudden, all those additional memberships basically drop to the bottom line. Is that?
Yeah, correct. We knew that, I think they were charging like £80 the membership at the time. So we went straight in, I think it was like 200, which it has to be for a group training studio now, £200 a month minimal, because of Facebook advertising costs. Our acquisition costs to get a customer maybe been back in the day when we started £20 through ads. So that's just the ad spend divided by the amount of sales. And then our lifetime value of a client may have been like a year, so like £1,000, just around £100 collected. With the 6-week challenge, it might have been a £1,200, £1,300 lifetime value. But that was when like lead costs might have been like £3 to £5 on average. Now they're 15 to 20 on average. So we then had to pivot and then so do a reduced volume style studio and triple the prices of the 6-week challenge. So we charge like 600 for that now. Because of the VAT, that's 500 straight away. And our acquisition costs might average at 150 to 200. So we're still like more than 2x in the money long term. But when you first open, because it's new in the area, you still get cheap leads. You make quite a lot of profit just from the 6-week challenge at the start. But we know the lifetime value and average across all sites now is like 3k. So we know if it's costing us £200 to acquire the customer, we're still doing a 15x on the acquisition cost to lifetime value, which is where it's really at.
Yeah. So I suppose in that example, I think you mentioned you bought this location. Yeah, and obviously I can appreciate our respect for the owner. You maybe don't want to name the location, but you bought this location for £10,000. So you basically took the kit off their hand and took on the obligations of their lease
And the great stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically they gave them a little bit of money for the kit that was in the building and took over some of the obligations, the lease and the staff. Okay.
It was all under like really good terms as well. So the long term, one of the good staff from there, he became an area manager for us, which was great. And he then went on to get a franchise with us. And then the other manager that replaced him has now gone on to buy that site off us as a franchise now as well. So that 10 grand's turned into about £500,000.
Interesting.
You just got to know when you've got good people as part of that deal too.
So I want to talk about people, but you just mentioned the F word, so let's talk about it, because then the business model changed. At what point did you go, you know what, you're opening your own location, so you're fully responsible for all the costs, and you get the benefit of all the profits if you are making them. At what point did franchising enter the equation, and why?
So it was about 6 months after lockdown, officially opened the first site, but we'd started talking about it before that. Basically, one of the members, we'd thought about it. Well, actually, this might be a scalable model, but I didn't really know too much at the time. And then one of our members was desperate. He's like, James, can you mentor me to get my own sort of style, sort of studio, like I'll pay you whatever. And he came around and said, I don't know anything about franchising, but I've Googled it, I want to franchise it. So I was like, okay, cool. 3 months, we got some like quick drafts drawn up as an agreement, and then spent like 3 months building an ops manual in Google Docs. It was shocking looking back. I had like all the A4 paper on the floor going, yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, and it was absolutely shit. But it worked. He opened with 70 members. So Jed, our first one, he's still with us now. He's got 2 sites. And then what happened was, because we started growing it through members wanted it at first. That started growing. And then I had these 6 or 7 sites, whatever it was at the time. And all the new ones were just breaking even anyway because they're just open. Then the old ones, they're just profits just going down every month because my time was in that. And I think this is probably a similar time that I met you. And then I just had to make a call and go 80% of my time is going into the sites and making me 20% of the profit. And my 20% of my time is going into the franchise and making 80% of the profit. I just went on a rampage for you, just selling them to franchises basically at a good rate, like at the cost. I didn't overcharge them, just at the cost that it'd probably cost them to set one up for new. So it helped me get out.
So you sold the existing sites and turned them into franchise locations?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So there was a reflection of to say, look, I like the business model, and I presume
I think we got to 12 sites at this point, and I was like, I'm stressed.
Right, well, I remember looking at the financials, and again, a decent analysis, Claire will attest to, like a decent analysis side by side. It was so obvious that these franchise locations, which was it from how the franchise was structured, was very typical, right? As in terms of like the franchise fee and then the monthly, the amount and the percentage, it was all very typical. But then when you looked at it and then you assessed how much of James's time was going in, franchises are all making money, and it was a constant sort of stress from a people side that your own locations. So now into this mix, you're seeing an opportunity and going, okay, the business, I can see it going this way. And I remember several calls at all while we were reflecting on it. Actually, if it's just your time though, couldn't you just switch your time back to this? What's going to realize the most capital value? And we had quite a bit of debate. And then ultimately over time, the franchise won. It's both at the same time. While it was stressful, this business was making money, like cumulatively. There was a lot of problems and issues with site and people and things always going on. And
I thought money was going to solve it all. More money. So the business was profitable and doing well anyway. But I thought, let's just throw more money into it and it'll solve the problems. Whereas the problem is always with yourself, right?
But I don't disagree with that. But my memory was that and tell me to bugger off if you think this is wrong, is that you wanted more money to accelerate the growth more quickly.
That's what I mean. So, we'll get more money to grow more staff members and everything like that. So I kind of took it because of that reason. Also, it gave me a bit of like a incentive personally to, as part of the investment, to take it. So I probably think half of that decision was based off the cash that I'd get personally out of it as well.
So in other words, you're looking to raise money, A, for growth, but B, also to take some money off the table.
Not originally, and then it just kind of came to the table. I was like, oh, that sounds quite good. So that was definitely swung me even more.
We missed an important connection. So you found out that your neighbour owns this castle, and what you just pop them round for a bag of sugar and...
Yeah, I just went around all the time, chatted. Such a really nice, down-to-earth guy. Great. there was two of them. They were both like co-owners of AJ Bell originally. Yeah, they're great guys, so got on with them really well. Still do now.
So you got 3 offers on the table, and then you took the offer from them, and that was for...
The total deal was like $1 million.
Yes.
Yeah. So we didn't draw it all to start with.
So they basically gave you a line of credit to invest £1 million. You drew £600,000 straight away, only if you're able to say. We are on tape, but what percentage of your business did they take?
25%.
Okay. So you've now got a mid-7-figure valuation, right? And so you drew down that money to open locations, and then what? So you've got these investors on board. What was that experience like, actually? Because some people here kind of go, there are opportunities to take money off the table and still have majority control of your business and have the capital required for growth.
I think we're in a good position because it's not like they saw potential and there was no profit. It was already in good profit, so it was pretty low risk investment, and they saw the potential in the scalability of it as well. What we wanted to do was have the franchise running as well, and then also keep growing the other sites, because, you know, if you look at the unit economics, you know, we might take an average of 3K a month in revenue from the franchise.
You as a franchisor would make £3,000 from the franchisee.
Yeah, 10% of their revenue. Yeah, right. And then the other side of it is we might have a hub that we own doing 30-40 grand a month that would make 10 grand a month net profit off. Right, so from a unit economic standpoint, on paper, it's like, well, let's open more of the ones we own, right? Because it makes more sense. But I didn't realise how much of an infrastructure I really needed to do that, and then I just ended up hating it in the end.
I see. This is good. Again, he said, and this, I promise, applies to your business. I'm not saying this is the answer for everybody. It was the right call for James, but when he speaks about the unit economics, on paper, you're going to go, right, we can open our own location, or we can franchise one. On paper, you're going to go, well, you open your own location, there's CapEx, but it's not significant, low 5-figure sum. We know what we're doing, and once it's up to speed, it will be making 10 grand a month, and then off 30 or 40 grand in revenue. Whereas if we franchise it, we'll make 10% of the gross revenue, so we'll be making 3 grand a month. So 3 grand versus 10 grand, and 3 versus 10, you go, it's obvious, take the 10. But in this one, you've got the franchisee who has pays the capital cost, but also pays an upfront fee to the franchisor. Okay, and that's not even the most important bit. Let's talk about people and the headaches. Well, what's your experience of, I suppose, what was the difference between the people, the franchisees, when they've got skin in the game versus when you've got
There's
employees?
Pros and cons to both. So you've got more control over the brand and the quality if you own them, but a lot more input from sort of like HQ staff members. There's a lot more staff to manage, more HR, more training to a degree. So there's a yin and yang to both sides, I suppose. So the franchise is scalable as long as you do their onboarding properly and they get trained, and you're taking on the right franchisees as well. I've made a few mistakes with them as well, but it's harder to control the quality standard. Like, as much as we like to know what's going on, like, a lot of them are never doing as much like compliance system as you think they are. Not in a brand damaging way. So you've got to be on them more in a different way. Okay, and it's not that they don't want to do it, it's just because there's a lot of spinning plates. Right,
so there's a trade, right? So your James as the owner is giving them the spinning plates if they're a franchisee, but then they're managing the spinning plates. So James is less stressed, but there's a trade-off, and the trade-off is they might not be doing as good a job, whereas if James kept the spinning plates, he'd have to have the team and the infrastructure to manage those spinning plates, which is also the HQ cost. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So what, and I suppose, how did you have to shift marketing because now you're having to market to get franchisees? Because in the early days, James said, well, we found our franchisees, early ones, because they were members at existing sites that want to open in neighbouring towns, presumably.
Yeah, so we just looked at we just started doing trial and error on the digital marketing ads towards franchises. So I was trialing loads of different things and literally pulling my hair out, like going, which one's working? And it was like learning a new customer base again. And then in the end, Facebook shut our ad account down, Instagram, whatever it met, because they're classing franchise as a recruitment opportunity. Right, so we were trying to target age ranges and stuff. So we opened a new ad account, started again, and then we just literally advertised to everyone in the UK, and that was that. And then we had one advertising strategy basically, with a few qualifying questions on the form, and it just saved me 100x headache. They made the decision for me basically. So we just started to build custom audiences for the people that click on that ad more, and then it just got better and better and better. So we didn't have to actually do much apart from spend money.
Okay, now there's an interesting...
to get the leads.
There's an interesting... And by the way, I suspect I'm planting seeds for questions, so just make a note, because we'll get to questions shortly. But what happened with the investors? Because I remember at the time when it was raised, I remember in a sense, it was very easy. I mean, perhaps you, James, didn't find the whole thing smooth, but from an outside perspective, from an advisor perspective, like, holy crap, they wrote that check. They did that deal very easily. Now, the fundamentals were good, the business was good, but I've seen a lot of investors kick up a lot more fuss over a lot smaller businesses. And so they wrote this check, but it didn't work out the way that you anticipated. So on the one hand, we're like, right, we got a big stack of cash now. Okay, there's a chance to really go for it, but it didn't work out.
The day after it signed, we received the money bank. I was like, holy shit. I was like, right, where do I spend it? So yeah, that was literally it. I was like, what do we do with it? I was like, and then I literally had this daunting feeling that week that I signed it. I was like, why have I done that? I was like, I don't actually know what to spend it on. So we rebranded, spent 100k on a rebrand.
Because you do?
Because you do. Because it's not my money. It ended up becoming my money, which I'll talk about later. And then, and we opened one site, and I don't know where the money went. I just spent it.
What was their intent?
No, it was a bit more structured than that.
Because I mean,
it was just,
that's a little bit flippant in the sense of that they didn't just sign up and say, oh, do what you want. Was the intent to open more of your own sites?
Yeah, so we opened like a HQ site, another HQ site, which was going to be like, well, which is where the head office is. So we overspent on that. It was like 200k. The rebrand 100k, and then just other little bits. The legal cost was 50k nearly in the end, 40k or something like that. So that was part of that. Part of it went to that, and then some of that went to me as well. And so all of a sudden, this money's spent, and we're not growing because we've kept growing the franchise. But what I'm saying is, none of the money actually gave us growth. It gave me growth, though, personally.
Why? Why did it give you growth? How?
It was like a baptism of fire, and it literally uncovered every weak area I had as a business owner.
How so? Give an example.
Yeah, so I went into the first board meeting 3 months after, and he's like, not in this exact wording, he's like, don't ever come in here without these numbers right ever again. So I was like, so I literally I went in bed that night and went, I'm shit, I'm a failure, like, I've just embarrassed myself and all this sort of stuff. So,
I mean, to be fair,
it was a zero download.
If you can have an investor, it's like, think very carefully, because investors that can write checks that big are normally not going to be idiots.
So there's nothing wrong with the numbers, but I just got the zero reports and stuff. Like, I brought in the P&L, but no balance sheet or cash flow. And then the other thing as part of that as well, because I thought I was going to be able to take on more growth because we had the money. The issue was then, I thought it was going to be easier than it was. So I made this massive forecast. So even though for every quarter after that, we'd still like doubled the year before, the forecast was just showing a complete bloodbath. So it was like, well, we're nowhere near these numbers, man. Like, so even though the business was doubled every quarter compared to the previous year, it still looked completely terrible. And then after 6 months, we had to redo the whole forecast and redo the business plan again.
And so you had a baptism of fire. They kind of gave you short shrift because you were underprepared from a financial perspective. Well, then what? Because they've got their money in. They want to make sure that they get their return. But to be fair, the business was still trading well, just nowhere near the level that was projected.
Yep.
Right, so as in the business is still growing and is still profitable.
It was doubling every year still, but it felt like it was doing crap because it wasn't hitting the forecast. Yep. So that was lesson number one, don't over-egg your forecast. Just be realistic. Even doubling it the next year is still incredible. And if we'd forecasted double, everyone had still been happy and have still got the deal anyway. So, and just don't set yourself up to fail. Need enough to chat the lesson there. You need enough to challenge you, but not to feel like you're failing.
Yeah, interesting. So and then what changed? At what point? Because they're now no longer your investors. So what was the? Because my experience was they weren't unreasonable. They
were really good guys. Genuine.
They weren't really screaming at you because you hadn't hit the target. No,
really good guys. It was the most positive experience of my life, and I strongly believe that something negative can still mean it's positive. Just because it feels negative doesn't mean it is negative. So it just brought all the weak areas up. So I now literally know every single bit of data. I could literally go back every month for the past 24 months and tell you exactly what I made. what I didn't make. I really like that. So it really
right? As in, like,
on the averages across the board, I couldn't. They're all pretty similar. So to know my numbers more, a lot more, and just be more efficient and review stuff more and be more strategic. Don't think too short term.
How did you get them back out though? So as in, put the money in.
Yeah, so I was in America, and then I was stressed the hell out, to be honest. Like, even though it's a positive experience, it was still extremely stressful. And they wanted me to push the corporate-owned sites more, and I didn't. So it just didn't align. So I was literally at a point where it was like, I literally made a decision on the play. I literally did a tarot card like you did. I can't remember exactly. Don't make your business just tarot cards. Bad example. Don't do as I say. But I did do a tarot card. No, it just kind of clarified the decision. Someone that was with me said, just try a tarot card. And it was like, you need to make a really strong decision. Basically, it said something like that. So I was like, I literally got off the plane and went knocked to his house and did what I needed to do. Like, was literally like in an instant decision. And I was like, I either want out, or if I can't do it, I'm going to fold the company. I don't want to do it anymore. It's got that bad. Because my gut instinct was like, this isn't right. This is not how the company's going to succeed. Because we've got a big vision of what we want to do in the UK with it. So it's going to slow. It was like, yeah, less locations, but that meant less impact in the UK. Like, we want a hub in every town or city in the UK, 100 plus locations, to help transform that community to get healthy and feel good about themselves again. So we literally wanted to build the franchises leaders to just lead the country to better health. And I genuinely have like a really strong drive and desire to do that, and what I'm super passionate about. And isolating us into a small amount isn't helping the vision of what I want to achieve. So I was just, I was torn from a strategical point of view, but my values as well. So in the end, I went back and said, look, I'm out. I'll find a way to get your money back, because I didn't have I probably had half the money still in the bank, because we definitely hit a plateau and started churning a bit of cash as well, even though it had been very profitable. My head wasn't in a good space from it. It wasn't. I don't think it was even the stress. Like, I can take stress all day for the right reasons, but I was like, this is stress that's not beneficial. So I was like, right, this just needs to end. So I went round. They were really cool. I said, look, I'll get you all your money back. Can we just get the agreement? And after back and forth for a week, they were just dead cool about it, and then I got them all their money back within 6 months and paid them out.
Yeah, so you bought them out. So they bought in. You learned a lot of lessons. They got bought out. You got full ownership of the company, which allowed you to more heavily lean into franchising. Delevered, you sold off your own locations apart from HQ. And since that time, you've had
every location by location. It was like a brick just coming off my back. And now it's just like, there's nothing. Yeah, there's no. Some things are still weighted, which they're always going to be. But I know that whatever gets in the way is because I'm going in the right direction. And every time we have a big growth spurt, we're going through it at the minute. Might have seen me yawning this morning. But, it gets intense, and then every time we grow, it just uncovers the new set of problems that we need to solve. And then we solve them, and it grows more. Then we get more problems, and it's just every time we get a big growth spurt, it just flags up more operational issues, which is good. But I'm really happy with that because it means we're growing.
Yeah. So you had 6 franchises, and then you offloaded, sold, or converted your existing owned locations to franchises. So you then had 12. Since then, you've more than doubled. Just kind of like open.
We've got 45 signed territories, and we've got 27 open, and we've got 4 open next 8 weeks as well. So we should be on mid-30 by the end of the year. But they're actually open.
Yeah, because they have to sign, and there's a process to go through before they open. Okay, good. So you've already got 45, I think you said, that are signed, with 27 open, 4 more to go in the next 8 weeks. Great. What are the key lessons? Because at each location, James leaned into a business model which, whilst you could argue it limits the profit per location, he's more easily able to scale locations, and in his case, with less risk. Or a trade of risk.
I love the mentoring side of it. I think as well, like, I didn't enjoy working with entry-level coaches, okay? So if you can't make it enough from the business, then it's not worth the small amount you're going to get in your bank, because you'll spend it anyway, like I did. And then look at what you're doing with your business and where's your time going and which section of that time is giving you the most output for the least input, basically, and just basically what makes the most cash. Don't get caught up in the bullshit. Like, just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're working on the business really well. Like, double down on, it's usually stuff you don't want to do. For me, I didn't enjoy the recruitment side of it as much. So that hindered our growth and brought a lot more stress. So you'll tend to do the things you're really good at naturally, and you'll shy away from the important stuff. I'm not saying if you're not good at graphic designing, shy away from it, delegate that stuff out and things like that. But like when it comes to the actual running the business, the sales, what's going to move that money needle every single day. And I literally write that in my book every day. How can I move the money needle today, and who do I need to communicate with, or who do I need to hire? Those are like the 3 main points. Like, what do I need to deal with today? Don't carry stress. I had this like panic attack. I thought it was like having a heart attack at one point. And it's because problems were just building up and up and up and up, and I wasn't dealing with them. So if you want to grow really quick, get good at dealing with your problems as soon as they come in. And not just in the business, but family, friends, difficult conversations you're putting off, just tackle it head on and don't let it go a day. Some things take longer, legals, other stuff like that, but things that can be solved through usually just a conversation. Don't put it off, face your fear and just have the convos. That staff member you've got to fire, even though they've been with you years, get rid of them, that you know it's right. That difficult conversation with a staff member and you've not been happy with, you know, their attendance and how well they've been keeping to time, and just little things pissing you off, address it there and then. But also address when they're doing stuff really well too. That's a really important thing. You've got to have that culture as, look, I'll tell you when you're doing good, but I'm also going to tell you when you're not.
Love that. I love that. And so final question for me before I hand it over to the group. What's next, James? So it's been quite a torrid time the last several years, ups and downs, but there's a nice surge now, significant surge of growth. The future seems bright. What's next for you? What's next for Transform Hub?
So plan by 2027 is to have 100 open sites. And then everything changes so quick quarterly. So I'm not trying to plan too far ahead to a degree. I know what the vision is and the outcome, but I think I can't answer that too much apart from I'm just building a really incredible world-class team. That's my goal.
Do you have an end game, or are you just going to see when you get there, once you get to 100 sites, what it'll be?
You always said just build it as if you want to sell it, because if you need to sell it and you're ready to sell it then, and if you're building it to sell it, you're going to optimize it the most anyway. So it's going to, whether you just sell it or not, you're going to make the most money possible. So just, Dan taught me that years ago. I was like, yeah, well, that's the idea I'm going to have. But then if I did sell it, what the hell would I do with my life? I'm 33, so I don't look 53 now. So if you want to age quick, get investors too. So good growth, but lost hair.
Yeah, I love the honesty. I love the transparency. All right, give it up for Mr. James Cole.
Thank you. Appreciate it.